Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today, it's my August ink comparison video. The two inks I'm going to look at, both by Diamine. We've got Diamine Earl Grey, and going up against that, another grey ink, Diamine Ghost. I love Earl Grey, it's one of my favourite grey inks, but I'm finding Ghost is coming up quite quick on the inside as being a favourite ink. Join me now, down on the mat. We'll look at the swatches, look at some chromatography. I'll do a writing sample, then I'll give you my thoughts on these inks. Welcome down to the table. So here we've got today's inks. We've got Diamine Earl Grey, this is a 30ml bottle. And we've got Diamine Ghost. This came as part of the ink vent calendar. It's a standard ink and it's a 12ml bottle. Let's take a look at them though on the swatch cards. What do the actual inks look like? So we've got Diamine Earl Grey and then we've got Diamine Ghost. We'll look at Earl Grey first. It's a nice standard grey colour. There's not a lot of excitement to it. You know, it's grey. It's got a nice dark colour. Got some lighter tones as well. With the Ghost is more of a silvery colour rather than a grey, or maybe a silver grey, as opposed to like a grey tending towards the black, which is what I think we've got with Earl Grey. I can see hints of purple where I've done my swatch, where I've put like a little bit thicker. It does look a bit purplish or pinkish to me. Even here on my single pass, we've got, you know, bits of like a purpley pink as well as the silver and bits of grey. So more of a complex coloured ink. If we take a look over the back where I've done my chromatography, the chromatography is very similar. So we've got the grey line at the bottom. The Earl Grey does seem to leave a darker grey line at the bottom, so maybe a little bit more water resistant. We then come up, we've got various pinks. Then as we're coming up on the Ghost, we go straight into a pale blue, where here with the Earl Grey, we've got some like a yellowy green coming through. Then we go into hints of pale blue, but also hints of a darker blue colour. So similar but quite different chromatographies. They're interesting, but what's even more interesting, what does it look like when you write with it? So I'll fetch in my notepad of testing. Here we've got some Oxford optic paper. This is in a black and red A5 notebook. Today's ink holder, we'll use Quickie Koala. He's more or less a grey colour, isn't he? And we'll start with Earl Grey. So here's the Earl Grey. It's a standard ink, so I don't need to mix it to get any shimmer particles in there. Take the cap off, pop that into Quickie Koala. The pen of testing I'll be using. This is a Serendipity dip pen. This has got a broad Yoho nib. I like this because between each ink, I can pull the nib and feed out. And then what I do is I go and wash this out in the sink. I give it a good dry with paper towel. So the idea is that I can start with a nice clean nib each time. And it's really quick for me to do that. So let's dip that pen in. So I've dipped the pen. I've scribbled off a little bit on my scrap paper. So we've got here Diamine Earl Grey. This is a 30ml bottle and it costs $4.50, which means we're talking 15 cents per milliliter. When I went to do my price checks for this, I went to the Cult Pens website, which is where I buy most of my Diamine inks from, and Earl Grey in a 30ml bottle was no longer listed. So whether it's just out of stock or being discontinued, I don't know. But just be aware if you go looking for it, certainly on Cult Pens, it wasn't listed as still being for sale. Going to write a sentence. I like writing with this ink. It's really nice. It's got this gorgeous dark colour, and to me there's hints of green in it. Yeah, this is such a nice ink, you know, and When we swipe it, let me try and get a clean finger, you can see it's fairly wet as well. So that's the Diamine Earl Grey. I'll just step away and clean the pen. I'll be back in a minute. Right, I'm back. The pen's been given a good clean out. Let's take a look at Diamine Ghost. Take off the cap. It's a little tiny bottle, only just fits in this holder. It's that small. So again, let's dip the pen. Then I'll scribble off a little bit to take off any excess. And let's write with this one. So we've got here Diamine Ghost. Do you know, to me, I don't know, maybe it's just the way my eyes are seeing things, but it looks quite green when I'm putting it down. So I've priced this up for a 50 milliliter bottle. That was $15.50 from Cult Pens. So that works out at 31 cents per milliliter. More than double the cost of the Earl Grey. We'll do a sentence. When I do my swipe, it's fairly pale looking. As I say, it looks green when I'm writing it with it, but as it dries, it does take on more of that silvery colour. I'll leave this to dry. Whilst it's drying, what we'll do is we'll take a look at some writing tests on Tomoe River paper. So for this, I used my Leonardo Furore pen. This has got a 1.1 stub nib. The nib's made by Yoho for Leonardo. Both the inks have been tested in the same pen. So here we've got the Furore with the Ghost. Again, we can see here a lot of grey, a lot of silver to it. Don't see any of that pink colour that I saw on the swatch card coming out in the writing. It's not a dark grey, it's a fairly light grey. And I do see, at times, I do see some shading coming through. Now, I'm going to swap over. And here we've got the Furore with Diamine Earl Grey. To me, the line in here looks a bit narrower. So this was written, you can see there, this was used right the way back in August of last year. So that's nearly a year. Whereas the Ghost, that was actually from January. So there's 6 months of usage of this pen between them. And there's been other inks in the pen between then. So it could be the nibs settling down. So we'll ignore that. The ink is more darker. To me, when I see the ink on here, it reminds me very much of a pencil. You know, yes, a thick pencil, but it reminds me of the grey that I see from a pencil. Whereas with this Diamine Ghost, I say it's more silvery coloured. Now, I know it's hard to do. I'm trying to get it so we can see a little bit of each. So we can see on the left-hand side here, we've got the Earl Grey. On the right, we've got the Ghost. You can see very much differences there coming through in the colour of the ink. So we've got that pencil-y grey colour as opposed to more of a silvery colour. Let's just move this out of the way. We'll fetch back in the Oxford paper. So this has had time to dry. When I did my swipes here, we do see a bit more pink coming through with the Earl Grey, whereas on the swipe here it's all silver. As the ink's dried, you can see it's lost that green that it had when I was doing my writing, and it's gone to this silvery grey colour. It's something which I do find a bit weird, when you're writing and you're seeing one colour go down and then it dries to another. I think that's quite interesting. We can see here, as we just seen with the Tomoe River paper, the big difference in colour, the more silvery tone as opposed to the grey tone. Of the two inks, I quite like the Ghost, it's alright, but for my more normal, my day-to-day writing, I do prefer the Earl Grey. That's the grey ink that I reach for. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. Would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members. All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. So they're my thoughts on Diamine Earl Grey and Diamine Ghost. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on these inks? What other greys are there out there that you like? I'd love to expand my grey collection and ideally outside of Diamine inks. Please drop any comments down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.